Many tabletop crafters have asked if there's a cheaper alternative to the Proxxon Hotwire table. Well, of course there is, and today I'd like to compare one of them in a head-to-head cutting showdown so you can decide for yourself if those savings are worth it or not. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Blackmagic Craft. This week is an episode that I've been planning on doing for a long time. I want to take the Proxxon Hotwire table and the Hotwire Foam Factory Scroll table, put them side by side and do the same cuts on them so that you guys can see how they perform in comparison. A lot of people ask about the cheaper alternatives to the Proxxon because it is a fairly expensive tool if this is just a casual hobby. So obviously people are looking for cheaper solutions. And one of those cheaper solutions that comes up all the time is the Hotwire Foam Factory Scroll table. There's no question that I am a user and lover and advocate of the Proxxon table, but I do own both. I am in a unique position where I can compare the two and let you guys decide for yourself. In this comparison, I'm only going to perform a few basic cuts because I think that's the best way to just show the efficiency with which each one of these tools operates. There is no beating around the bush. The Proxxon table itself has a lot more options and control, and you can do more with it. And I'm going to talk about that after the comparison. But first, let's take a look at how quickly these tools cut foam side by side and how quick it is to set up the procedure to do these cuts. Let's take a look. There you have it. a side-by-side comparison and you can come to your own conclusions from that. I gotta say though, when I was planning to do this video, I actually thought the Hotwire Foam Factory Scroll table would perform a lot worse than it did. It's kind of strange. I haven't used the tool in quite some time. It was the first Hotwire cutter that I purchased, and when I first used it, I was a little bit frustrated with how well it cut the foam. It didn't quite do what I expected. And then I purchased the Proxxon and I loved it, and I've been using it ever since. And in my head, I've had this kind of maybe a little bit unfair false memory about how poorly the Hotwire Foam Factory Scroll table performed. I'm still not gonna say it's great. Personally, I think that, you know, it's not worth the money to save because it is gonna be frustrating to use. It's very slow and it can't do a lot of the same things the Proxxon can. But I gotta give it credit, it did perform a bit better than I remembered. Now, there's a few things to consider besides just the speed of cutting and efficiency of tool use when comparing these two tools and deciding which one is right for you. Obviously, there's the price. The Hotwire Foam Factory one is considerably cheaper, so if that's the only thing you care about, well, it's a winner in that regard. But there's a lot of other stuff. One is the features. Now, the one feature that the Proxxon has that makes it far superior in my eyes to the Hotwire Foam Factory one is the temperature adjustment. You can regulate the temperature from very cool to very hot to adjust depending on the material you're using, the thickness of it, and the width of the cut or the type of cut. That is very important when working with one of these tools. That being said, I don't think this is an apples to apples comparison, and I think it's a little bit of an unfair comparison to Hotwire Foam Factory. The scroll table is their entry level, I would say, hobbyist tool. It's not fully featured. They do have a scroll table that is more expensive and of a higher quality, and that one is actually more than the Proxxon, so there's no good way to compare the tools because the Proxxon's price point is in between the two other ones. Now, the Hotwire Foam Factory other scroll table you can buy uses a separate power supply where I believe you can adjust the temperature. So it exists, it's just not a feature on the cheaper one if you're looking for a cheaper alternative. So that's what we're talking about here, the cheaper alternative. Another thing that's vastly different about the two is the wire. The gauge of wire used on the Hotwire Foam Factory cutter is significantly thicker, which means it doesn't get quite as hot and it doesn't make as clean of a cut sometimes. I far prefer the very thin Proxxon wire. That being said, the Proxxon wire breaks way more often. I've actually never broken the Hotwire Foam Factory wire, but the Proxxon comes with like a spool of 100 feet of wire, so I don't think it's really an issue. I don't know if I'll ever go through it all. In a year, I've probably used 3 feet of wire from breaks. That's another point. If you're gonna order one of these on Amazon, don't bother ordering the extra spool of wire. I really doubt you're gonna need it. Just buy the tool, it comes with more than enough wire. The other thing to consider out of the box is the rip fence. Neither of them come with a really great rip fence. The Proxxon one is kind of famously flexible and loose, so it's not perfect, but it works. It also doubles as a crosscut guide, and it's very quick to adjust and set up. The Hotwire Foam Factory rip fence is a little piece of plastic with 2 set screws that's very finicky and annoying to set. I do not like it whatsoever. It also creates a funny thing. The Proxxon, you're able to adjust this wire at an angle and rip bevels. Now the funny thing is, on the Hotwire Foam Factory one, you can also adjust the arm to angle the wire, except that the direction which the rip fence runs on the table means that it doesn't matter what angle your wire's at. If you're ripping, it's still gonna be a straight cut because you have to cut towards the fence to get that bevel, and I don't know, maybe I'm missing something, but it straight up just doesn't make sense to me. Another feature that the Proxxon has that the Hotwire Foam Factory one does not is an on-off switch, and that might not seem like a big deal, but when you're cutting a lot of foam, it is important because, as discussed in previous videos, it is safe to cut this foam with the hot wire, but it's dangerous to burn it. And when foam residue collects on the wire, it will start to burn. So it's good practice to turn your tool off when you're done with the cut. Proxxon actually makes a foot pedal that you can get, which I should get. I would love to have that. And that makes that feature even better. Another huge factor to consider is the fact that the Proxxon table is kind of the hobby standard in terms of terrain building, which means that there's a lot of people using it and a lot of people developing accessories for it. Shiftinglands.com makes many Proxxon accessories that are fantastic. They are so well designed and well used, and they take a good tool and turn it into a fantastic tool. As far as I know, that same kind of aftermarket accessory business doesn't exist for the Hotwire Foam Factory one, and I'm not even sure how it would work because it doesn't have a way to kind of lock stuff in. That being said, in the demo, I did use this on the scroll table, just held it in place so that I could at least get a fair, vertical cut comparison. So that is a bunch of information about both. I'm reluctant to say what you should do, but personally, it's a clear winner on the Proxxon. I think that the extra cost is 100% worth it. In my eyes, the cost of the Hotwire Foam Factory one, although cheaper, is kind of a waste of money. I personally really regret having purchased it, and I wish I hadn't done that early on when I got into this hobby. I wish I just right out the gate had bought the Proxxon. Sorry guys, that is the honest truth. I would say that if the Proxxon table is out of your price range and it is not an option whatsoever, despite all of these things, my advice to you is don't spend some money on a cheaper Hotwire table. I think honestly, if you're not gonna go all out and get the Proxxon, you're better off investing in just an Olfa knife with a big pack of blades, some good straight edges, and work that way, or make your own. This is where the real answer is for a cheaper alternative to the Proxxon. For the price of the Hotwire Foam Factory one, or probably even less, you can build yourself a beautiful, fully functioning, high-powered, good quality Hotwire cutter. Obviously, there is a learning curve and stuff involved in that, but if you're a capable builder and you feel comfortable doing some basic electronics and woodworking, you can make a Hotwire cutter that is just as good as the Proxxon, maybe even better because you can customize it for very cheap. So when somebody asks, is there a cheaper alternative that's worth getting to the Proxxon? The answer is yes, but I don't think it's the Hotwire Foam Factory one. I don't think it's those cheap $20 Hobby Lobby ones that I don't even want to waste the money on to test. I think the cheap alternative is building your own or just not using one, using a knife. I am not going to make a video on making a cutter because there are many other ones online. You just search how to build a Hotwire cutter. King of Random made a fantastic one, but there's many people who have made them. There's a lot of resources online. You can definitely make your own. That being said, I still think you should buy the Proxxon because I really love it. It changed my crafting game, and I'm so glad that I purchased it. So with that being said, you got your holiday Amazon gift cards or whatever, and you're itching to spend them. Take my advice with a grain of salt. I am but a lowly crafter using the tools and telling you what I think. If you want to purchase a Proxxon or even the Hotwire Foam Factory one, I mean, I'm not gonna judge. If you want to purchase any tools or supplies for this hobby, head over to blackmagiccraft.ca, click on my essential equipment store. That'll take you through a link that is my Amazon affiliate link, and that way anything you purchase on Amazon, I will get a small commission from, and that funds these videos. And I ain't gonna judge you for which tool you decide to buy. All I really care about is that you have the information to make the best informed decision for yourself that you can, and figure out what's right for you. I don't want you wasting your money. I really, really don't. If you found this video useful, hit that like button, drop me a comment below, let me know your thoughts. If you have either of these tools or you have both, let me know your thoughts, your comparisons in the comment section below. If this is your first time checking out Blackmagic Craft, I highly suggest you hit that subscribe button and check out my back catalog of other videos. I got tons of cool stuff about terrain building, foam cutting, and all sorts of other tabletop gaming related goodness. If you want to help out the channel financially and join the Blackmagic Craft Fellowship, the private Facebook group where you can hang out with me and get tips and have conversations and troubleshoot stuff and hang out with a bunch of other cool people, check out my Patreon page. There you can pledge and support the channel and help ensure that these videos keep getting made every Friday like they have been for the past year. On that note, holidays are over. I hope you guys all had a great one, and I am super excited for what the new year brings for Blackmagic Craft, the Tabletop Crafters Guild, and this hobby in general. We're taking over, guys. 2018, it's the year of D&D and tabletop crafting. I'm telling you. Cheers.